I have composed a list of questions due to internalized racism. The questions that I were interviewing people about were constructing on in which how people felt in their social norms. I have interviewed 2 random Seattle Central students as well as 3 of our very own CSP students, Gabe Mondragon, Tamika Jackson, and Ian Johnson.
Have you felt that due to your racial background it's been an advantage or has it been a disadvantage?
A little of both. Like, it's been an advantage sometimes when I get slip through the cracks where, you know, in certain situations I'll just be looked at as another Hispanic male. And it's been a disadvantage as far as opportunities. I mean, there are times where I felt like I could have succeeded and excelled in certain fields or areas of study, but a lot of people were against it just because of my ethnicity, including people with power.
Race does make a difference, especially coming from where I came from and how I was raised. I mean, being born in Africa and then coming to America, so there's a whole lot of differences, and seeing the way people are treated and misguided at that. Even growing up, I was told that since I'm a black woman, I gotta try 2 times harder at everything that I do.
Have you felt that due to your racial background, you have been advantaged or disadvantaged?
I think it depends on the circles that I would be in. I think the majority is probably at a disadvantage, but depending on who I'm speaking to, and that's usually allies, there is an advantage.
Have you felt that due to your racial background, you've had an advantage or a disadvantage throughout your life?
No, advantage.
How so?
Being a white male is what society is, what the world is wants to be, or I don't know wants to be, but...
Have you felt that due to your racial background, it's been an advantage, or has it been a disadvantage?
I think it's been kind of both. It's been an advantage to me because I'm able to get certain benefits from being a minority, and I take full advantage of those. You know, there are things and programs out there that are specifically tailored to minorities, which I think are not necessarily fair to everyone, but I definitely take advantage of them. But it is a disadvantage because people come to expect you to want a handout or want some help when you don't necessarily need it.
Due to all the multiple interviews that I have done, the conclusion I have made is that race has made a difference to everybody. Majority of their friends are multicultures. The stereotypes were those that they were expected to be and fit, and everyone has faced some form of disadvantage as well as an advantage to their life. And now the weather by John and Hannah.
And here's John with today's multicultural weather report. Good morning, CSP 250. My name is John, and I'll be bringing you the weather for today. As you can see, American Heritage Front coming down from the north, as well as Mexican Heritage Front coming up from the south. And now these two are going to converge right here in Austin, Texas in what will now be known as Tropical Storm Chris Hernandez. What's causing this? Let's take a look. First of all, we have 2 very different opposing heritage fronts that also speak 2 very different languages, okay? We've got English coming down from the north, which is Chris's native tongue, but we've also got Spanish coming up from the south, along with the expectation that all Mexicans speak Spanish, which Chris is proof of because it's just not true. Now, they're going to converge right here in the middle, create a little conflict, and you'll end up with what I like to call the testimony of Chris Hernandez. And now, in other news, Tiffany Fly is proud of her biracial heritage. She is 3/4 black and 1/4 white. Who knew? I didn't know. Did you know? I don't think so. Anyway, back to you in the newsroom.
Thank you, John. And now we're on the scene with Storm Danae. So, Danae, what were some negative effects of a multiracial family?
We were discriminated against, and oftentimes I was and continue to be questioned on my family dynamics due to our appearances.
So what were some positive effects of having a multiracial family?
It's caused me to be more open-minded and accepting of people from different backgrounds.
Thank you, Danae.
So, Hannah, what did you learn in investigating your testimonies?
Through my investigations and my in-depth interviews, I learned that there are many positive and negative effects to a multiracial family. The positives being that people were more multicultural, more rounded, more diverse in their thinking. But the negative effect was that a lot of them faced pretty harsh discrimination. What did you find, John?
Well, I think in summary we can say that the testimonies of Chris Hernandez, Tiffany Fly, and Danae Contreras are interconnected in their experiences with culture clash and blurred racial identity.
Thanks, John and Hannah, for that interesting report. Well, there seems to be a common theme that we're seeing among individual testimonies that demonstrates that racial stereotypes perpetuate an expected racial image. Some specific examples were represented in Ian Johnson's Black in America, Tamika Jackson's Thorn in My Pride, and Sheree Lane's The No Eye Contact Rule.
In the age of Obama, we've all heard the term post-racial society bounced around a lot. I've been out in the community talking to people about the effects of racial stereotyping, and I think you'd be very interested in what people had to say. Let's go to the footage.
What stereotypes are you faced with?
Gender stereotypes.
What stereotypes are you faced with?
African.
What stereotypes are you faced with? Faced with a strong black woman that doesn't need anything. I'm faced with the stereotype that as a black person I know hip-hop, which I don't.
What stereotypes do you think you were faced with?
Me? What stereotypes are associated with white males? I don't know. Like, whatever.